I'm your host, Josie Van Dyke, and I'm sitting next to the most beautiful, stunning queen, Delia Chatwin, everybody. Welcome to Weekly Trash.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. I have been following your journey for a long time. For those who don't know, you were diagnosed with cancer in 2021.
Yeah.
And that was shocking for everyone. And I'm sure it was even more shocking for you.
Yeah.
You're so young and healthy. And so I can't wait to talk about it with you. But before we talk about that, I have to dumpster deep dive you into everything Delia. So today's episode is brought to you by Anew Therapy. Anew is a mental health clinic in Sandy that specializes in ketamine. Ketamine therapy is a breakthrough treatment for those suffering from severe anxiety, depression, and PTSD, among other things. Treatments are administered in a safe and controlled environment by their team of experienced healthcare professionals. Unlike traditional medications, ketamine works quickly. On average, 80% of Anew therapy patients have reduced their depression and anxiety scores by half or more by their last treatment. I am proof of that. Most of you know this if you're an avid listener, but I completed 6 sessions of ketamine at Anew in the end of July. I have struggled with depression and anxiety my entire life and have been medicated since I was 13. So ketamine was a huge thing for my mental health journey. But one of my biggest takeaways I took from my sessions at Anew is just how important the setting is. You have to feel calm, relaxed, comfortable, but most importantly, safe. They do such a good job at creating a peaceful, zen, sacred space for you to really get the most out of your ketamine sessions. I don't think ketamine is for everyone, but I do think if you're interested in ketamine, Anew is the best place to do it. So if you're interested or have questions, visit anewtherapyutah.com, ANEWTHERAPYUTAH.com to book your free consultation today. Totally free, no obligation. And if you find that ketamine therapy is right for you, you can use code JOSIE75 to receive $75 off your first treatment. And thanks again, Anew, for sponsoring today's episode and changing my life. Delia, where are you from?
So I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay, Scottsdale girl.
Yep.
And do you have a small family, big family? What's it like?
Yeah, so just my sister and I in our immediate family, and then my dad was remarried, so I do have a half brother.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just really us two growing up. So.
Did you grow up LDS in Arizona?
No.
No.
So we actually were. My dad was really Catholic. My mom not really religious at all. But growing up in Gilbert Mesa area, I was obviously really familiar with the religion.
That's kind of like Provo.
Totally, yeah. And I had a lot of friends that were part of the church, but I never really found an interest until I was about 16. And I had met with, a couple different missionaries and then finally got baptized at 21. So
okay, so you had been talking to them for about 5 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did getting baptized have to do with also meeting your husband?
No.
Okay.
But I had gotten baptized a year before I met him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the timing was really interesting.
Yeah. What was the thing that really pulled you to the church?
I have a best friend who we've been really close for the past 20 years. I would say we met in middle school, and just being a part of her family's family home evening and scripture study and girls camp and all of those things. I was just around it, and I really loved the values and just how their family functioned and all the kids, the chaos, because my sister was always gone. She's 4 years older than me, so I was kind of an only child.
Yeah.
And so I really loved it. I felt like the spirit was just so strong in their family that it was just it just had a good energy. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What made you wait till you were 21?
So I actually met with the first set of missionaries, and they were elders. I just felt we're really pushy, and there was a lot of pressure from them. After the first meeting, they're okay, let's set the baptism date. And I was
were the meetings by yourself?
They were at my friend's house.
Okay, so your parents weren't there.
No.
Okay.
My mom, she's always been open and supportive. She's whatever you want to do, but I think you should at least wait until you're 18 before you make a big decision.
For sure.
So I did the first set of discussions, and then I was you know what, I'm not good with pushy things. And so I was I'll just take a step back. And then 2 years later, I was dating this guy, and he was hey, let's are you interested in like having discussions again? And I'm like, well, we'll try it. And the same experience, just like really pushy. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
And then the guy I dated, as I was like entering college, like graduating from high school, he was like, hey, there's some sisters in our church. Like, I want you to meet with them.
Sister
I think
missionaries,
yes.
for those who are confused.
Yeah, yeah, the sister missionaries. And he's like, I think you guys will connect like so well. So I'm like, hey, let's do it. I met with them for like 4 months, like 3 times a week, and they were just so awesome. One of them's like Tongan and just like so bubbly and fun, and love her. I think she's from Provo. And then the other one was from Provo, and she was just super sweet. And they just explained things to me in a way that was so simple. And I was just like, yeah, like I think this is kind of something I'd be interested in moving forward with.
And they were probably like the same age as you too.
Yeah.
Because
yes,
at that point they were probably like 21.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we
you had
were
a lot
kind
of similarity.
Exactly. And so I was 18, obviously, by then. I actually was 20, and I got baptized a month before I turned 21, which to all of my friends who were not LDS were like, that's like really interesting timing.
Had you ever drank before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're an Arizona girl and you weren't raised in that world.
Totally.
So.
And I dated older guys.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, like my boyfriend was like 3.5 years older. He was like a junior at ASU, and
okay,
it was a party every weekend. You know? So.
What did your parents think about that? Having the older college boyfriends?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I'll go back a little bit. My parents got divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
So we were like, my sister and I were raised by my mom, single mom. She was really involved in our life, like very integrative, but she never, like, I love her way of parenting because she was never like a helicopter mom, never like told us what to do or had her opinions like projected onto us.
Yeah.
She just was like, hey, I never did drugs. Like, I wanted my babies to be healthy, and that was my approach. And like, that was just enough for me. I actually don't know if my sister's ever done drugs. I don't think she has. But
do you need to come and tell us? Like,
what do you need to tell us? Do we need to sit down?
Call her real quick?
Totally.
Hey, have you done drugs?
Need this info for the podcast today, thanks. But yeah, so that was just like kind of enough for me. And my dad at that time like was kind of a bad alcoholic, and so
there wasn't a relationship there.
I mean, it was very distant. It wasn't like toxic or abusive or like anything like that. It was just he just lived in a different world, and like that was kind of what his life was at the time. And so yeah, back to like our childhood, like my mom was just like such a great mom. Like she was there and available, and was the mom that's like, if you find yourself in this situation, I want to be the first person that you call. Like I'm here. There's no judgment. There's no shame. There's just
no anger.
Yeah. It's just open arms, and like, I want to be here to support you. Like everybody makes choices, and sometimes they're not the best. So, that was really great. And yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, other than that.
Do you feel like dating older boys, do you think that stemmed from maybe any like daddy issues from like having a dad that was kind of not around?
Yeah. It's interesting. As I've like gone through therapy in my older years, I feel like that's definitely come up where it's like they had more of like a caretaker role. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was always like really attractive to me subconsciously. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but definitely I think it could have played a part for sure.
When did do you have a good relationship with your dad now?
Yeah. What's interesting is one of like, I think the blessings, miracles from my cancer journey that's been one of them, is just rebuilding a relationship with my dad, and him kind of showing up in that darkest hour, of like, hey, like, how can I be there? Like, how can I show up? What can I do? And just, it was kind of a blessing in that sense.
Well, that's good. Something good to come out of something really hard.
For sure.
So high school, you're beautiful. Did you model in high school? Because I know you modeled later in life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually started modeling when I was 12.
Really?
Yeah. I started at a pretty young age. My mom did modeling in her younger years. And so it was just kind of fun for her she's like, hey, let's see if like you want to do this.
Did your sister do it too?
No, she didn't. But it was actually funny when I think I was probably about 9 or 10, we did a family photo shoot, and my mom was like, hey, I feel like you're like really photogenic. Like
you're like stunning.
She's like, if this is something you want to do, like we can like help you. Like I have like experience in that. And so, I got into modeling. I signed with Ford Robert Black out of Scottsdale.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I was with them for quite some time until I moved out here and got married basically. And it was really fun.
So
it's a really good time.
That's a great job to have in high school too, because then goes with your schedule. You can make some money.
Totally.
Did you ever think, okay, I'll just go the full model route, move to New York, move to LA? Was that ever an idea of yours?
Yeah, I mean, probably not for like modeling in general, but I love fashion. Like I love design. I've always like had that creative outlet. I've just been so attracted to it. And I always wanted to move to New York or LA and do trend forecasting or visual merchandising, celebrity styling. Those were like my three, like these are my dream jobs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the plan before I met my husband, and now I'm in Utah.
Yeah. So did you meet your husband before college? Because you graduated from Arizona, correct?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you meet your hubby?
Yeah. So I went on a family vacation with my aunt and uncle and her two boys, and we went to Mexico, Rocky Point, for spring break. And I met Dylan on the beach playing volleyball.
And for those who don't know, you and Dylan, if you guys aren't watching visually, she's hot, Dylan's hot, they're hot, they're meant to be.
You're so nice.
So did you see him and you were like, oh, he's hot? Or did he come up to you and go, you're hot? Or what happened there?
Okay, so there's a little bit of a juicy story with this because I was actually in a relationship. I was in a long-term relationship, and we were at that point in time discussing marriage.
How old are you? 21?
I was 21.
Okay.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Because you had gotten baptized already.
Yes, yes. So I had gotten baptized the year before. And my ex and I were planning on getting married in like August. So this was in March, which was like spring break time.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. My aunt was actually the one who pointed him out. She's like, do you see those boys over there? He has an identical twin brother.
Yes.
So she's like, one's wearing blue shorts, one wears pink shorts. Like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I just like wasn't interested. I was in a relationship, and
you're like, I'm probably gonna get married. Yeah, so like I'm not watching.
Yeah, and she's like, you should like just go join the game. And I'm like, okay. So I initially met Derek first, and he had just gotten married like a month prior, and Derek's like, oh, like 1 second, and he switched out with Dylan, and Dylan came in, and so it was just like a funny joke because all of his friends like knew what they were doing, and we were chatting, and everybody knew I was in the relationship, but. Yeah, I think they had just gotten into town, like into Rocky Point that day, and we were leaving the next morning. And so it was just like a quick hi and bye after like volleyball.
And you were going to Arizona and he was going back to Utah.
Exactly. Yeah. So his trip has just started there and ours was finishing up. So that was that. We played volleyball. It was just fun and lighthearted.
No exchange of numbers or anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
And I went back up to my room, and we had like a balcony room, so like it was like in the pathway of the pool and stuff. And Dylan walked in front of our patio, our balcony, and he was like, I was FaceTiming my ex, and he's like, oh, are you FaceTiming your boyfriend? And I was like, oh yeah. And I just like turned the phone around because it was like not weird to me.
Oh my gosh,
like I didn't think anything was weird. And he's like, oh, don't worry, dude, I'm not trying to swoop in on your girl. And like, come to find out, now we're married. So it's like a funny, like laughable joke that we have.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Like, how did you guys reconnect?
Yeah, it was so wild. So after that trip, so that conversation was just like kind of funny, whatever. Yeah. After that trip, we got home, and there was just some like things that happened with him and I that kind of just put us in a position where we're like, let's just take a break. Like, let's just have some time. I was getting ready for finals, and like I take school like really seriously. And so I was like, yeah, we'll just have a break. Dylan and I connected on Facebook. He likes to say that I poked him, and like I'll probably deny it.
The
like
poking
forever. Yeah,
I remember. It was such a thing. Still a thing? The
I know.
poking?
I don't.
What a weird feature to put. Like you
so
couldn't just do like high five or wave. It's poke.
Yeah, like here I'm just
gonna poke you.
Yeah,
like, that's so weird.
And so yeah, I guess I poked him. I don't believe it, but apparently I did. And we connected, and we just like exchanged like messages, and then he got my number, and we did long distance for quite some time. So that's kind of the beginning of our story.
Did you know right off the bat, like, oh, I actually kind of want to marry him? Because you were about to marry this other guy, and then you fall in love with your now husband.
Totally. Yeah.
Was it quick?
I was like in a phase of like conflict. Like I was like, I don't know, like we've talked about marriage. Like I feel like there's a commitment there, but like I'm really gaining feelings for this guy. Yeah. And we were doing long distance because he was doing Vivint at the time. So he was like getting ready for summer. Yeah. And we continued talking. I was kind of talking to him both, just like dating and seeing like what I wanted to do and stuff. And so it ended up just kind of growing into a relationship. And Yeah, I mean, prospered over the few years after that. You know, we did long distance for a while.
Yeah. When did you actually get married?
So we got married in 2017.
Okay.
So we did long distance for about 3 years.
That's a lot.
It was a long time. Yeah. It's a
And
lot.
then you get married and you moved to Utah and did school online because you graduate. When did you graduate?
So I graduated in 2018.
Okay.
So after high school, I went to a community college and then I took a year off between ASU. And so I was like a little bit delayed, like with my years. But yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're fine. School, going back and forth, getting married in
Yes.
2017.
Yeah. So we got engaged in 2016 and
Okay.
we were engaged for a year. Then we got married in 2017, exactly a year later. And then I did online school for that next year. And then I graduated.
Because I remember watching, I'm like kind of a huge fan. I watched your guys' vlogs when you guys would vlog.
Our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember watching when he flew out because you were graduating. You had the graduation.
Yes.
What'd you graduate in? It was interior design.
Design? Yeah, design management, which is
Okay.
kind of just like an overview of like all the different design
Okay.
classes. Yeah.
And what did you want to do with the degree?
So I wanted to do fashion.
Yeah.
Wanted to go to New York or LA. And then when we got engaged and married, we moved out here and his parents were doing home building.
Yeah, Chatwin Homes.
Yes, Chatwin Homes. They've had that for 25 years. And we kind of were presented an opportunity to do a spec home. And we did it. We
Was it
designed
in Park City?
Yeah, it was in Park City. Park City Showcase. That was our first year.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And so we had so much fun with it that I was like, I want to do my own business. Like, we should just do our own business and dive deep into this. And so that's what we did.
And was he still doing sales at the time? And like you were having to be by yourself a little bit, or did he fully say goodbye to sales and just like do Chatwin Homes?
Yeah. His parents were like, hey, if you want to do the spec home, like, let's step away from sales. Like, we can make it make sense for you, you know, kind of like offered a salary base, you know, to make it make sense. And we just moved forward with that and we did well. We sold it during the showcase to an amazing family. And so it was awesome.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah. Yep.
You're so talented. You both,
Thank you.
do you guys work together well?
Yeah.
I feel like you'd have to
Yeah.
to still be doing it.
You know what's so awesome is we really share the same vision when it comes to design. And
That's
he
amazing.
has such an appreciation for design and just like the whole industry that I feel like it flows really well because like we can kind of speak that same language. But he's also a partner, like an owner in Chatwin Homes too. So it's like really integrated. And yeah, we have like a lot of fun. We have some amazing clients, and so we just really enjoy it.
You need to come do my house. My house
Anytime.
is a craziness mess.
Anytime.
I need it. Okay, so 2021 is when you got your diagnosis. You guys got married in 2017.
Yes.
So you guys were married for quite some time.
Yeah.
In that time frame, were there thoughts of kids? Like, what
Yes.
were your goals at that time before the diagnosis?
Yeah, so that's something we've always wanted. We've always talked about like our happy number 4,
Yeah.
you know, and so we were trying right after we got married and
Okay.
found out that I had PCOS. And so it just obviously delayed. We went into that whole infertility journey, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate is just very painful.
Yeah.
And it was just that whole process of checking every single month and tracking everything and the ovulation and all of that. And I think we went through 2 or 3 IUIs. I went through the ovulation pill, letrozole. We basically did everything we could before IVF. And it's really wild because the January that I got diagnosed in 21, we were planning on doing IVF that month. And so divine intervention, call it what you want, came in at the perfect timing to kind of bring that diagnosis, because if I had gotten pregnant, things could have gone like an entirely different way. So
Wow.
It was
I just got
wild.
like chills. Like, that's
know.
crazy.
it's
So let's
crazy.
talk about that day that you got diagnosed.
Yeah.
How did you get diagnosed? What were your symptoms?
Yeah. So I'll take it back a little bit to the December before. In 2020, I went home for a couple weeks just to spend time with family during the holidays. And just one day before I was getting in the shower, I did a breast exam.
Did you do that
And-
often? Was that something that you regularly did?
So my mother's sister, my mom's aunt, she was diagnosed with breast cancer,
Okay.
but that was like 20 years ago. So I would just like randomly do them.
Just feel it
Yeah.
out a
Yeah.
little.
Like you just kind of like fan around the breast area and just kind of feel for lumps, you
Yeah.
know? And a lot of ladies, like when they're in their younger years, have dense breasts. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of like calcium buildups and
Yeah.
deposits and stuff. But this one felt just different. And it started at the top of my chest wall up here, right under my collarbone. And it just felt like a string of marbles, is like the best way I could describe it. It was like
Okay.
lump after lump after
Yeah.
lump. And I immediately just felt in my body like, oh, that like doesn't feel normal. Like that's different, you know, especially compared to the other side. So I scheduled a breast exam for the next week, went in, she did the exam and was like, I think we need to do an ultrasound. It could be nothing, but we just want to
Yeah.
be proactive. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. The ultrasound was like 45 minutes and it was kind of my intuition, like my instincts were like something's off. It was that you could see just like scans on the imaging of like circles, and she was measuring things, and then she went under my arm, and obviously I know we have lymph nodes there, and I was like, oh no. So after that, they don't tell you anything. They're just like, let's just continue on with mammogram. So we did
Right.
mammo, and a couple days later, they're like, there's showing calcifications, which can sometimes indicate cancer. We want you to do an MRI. So I did an MRI, and then we did a biopsy. And then a week later, so all of that was during the holidays of like Christmas and New Year's and all these things.
And is
So
Dylan with you?
so Dylan wasn't there initially.
Okay.
He knew what was going on, but yeah, he was like finishing up some things with work. So I was just out there. And then this happened. So I was like, hey, like there's some imaging and things we've got to do.
Yeah.
So he came out in January when we went in for the biopsy, because at that point we're like, this is kind of serious.
Yeah.
And we were waiting. He had stayed for probably like 3 or 4 days. He had to get back for work. So he left to the airport, and as soon as he like left, I got a call. And at that time, you have to keep in mind it was COVID. So they weren't doing like in-person like
Right.
follow-ups or check-ins or whatever.
Right.
So they called me, and the doctor was like, hey, you know what? We got your biopsy results back, and it came back positive for breast cancer. And I'm gonna try really hard, as every time I say this, I always get like super emotional.
I have tissues.
Thank you. But she was like, it came back positive. Actually, no. She said, hey, we got your results back, and I just want to ask you, do you have kids? And I was like, no, we don't have any kids. And she's like, okay, we need to discuss that. Your results came back positive for breast cancer, and it's a late stage. So it was diagnosed as invasive ductal carcinoma stage 3B, which is right on the cusp of stage 4, which we know is like an incurable, just treatable, diagnosis. And I heard that, and just everything in my body was like shut down. Like I just like went numb. My mind just went blank, and I was just like, I just like couldn't respond. Like she was like, "Are you there?" And I was like getting emotional. And after we finished the conversation, I walked out, and my mom was working from home at the time and was in the living room, and I just like fell to the floor, and I collapsed, and my mom was on the call, and she's like, "I got to go." And I just like screamed out. I was like, it's positive, it's positive. And I was just bawling. And my mom came over, and she like just held me, and I just like cried. And I called Dylan like immediately after that, and his flight was taking off. And so he's like, hey, my flight's getting ready to take off. And I was like, Dylan, it's positive. Like, it's positive. They said I have like breast cancer. And he was like, I'm going to lose you. Like, I love you. I'll call you when I land. And the phone like cut out. And so
Oh my goodness.
we just sat there and we cried for like 2 hours. And yeah, it was just like, it was an emotional day. It was a really heavy emotional day. I just sat on the couch and cried like all day.
Did Dylan fly back? What'd you guys do once he landed? Because he's on the airplane, just like, oh my gosh,
I know.
My wife has cancer.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there being like, I want to talk to my husband, and he can't talk to me right now.
I know.
Thank goodness you had your mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was on a Friday that I got the call. So my mom called MD Anderson, which is like 5 minutes away from our house, the cancer center. And she was like, my daughter just got a breast cancer diagnosis. We need to come in and meet with an oncologist. And So we did that on Monday. And after that meeting, I was planning to fly back on Tuesday because Dylan was connecting with a bunch of doctors out here in Utah. So I was there over the weekend and had my initial consult with my oncologist on Monday.
And what did they say when you first went in? What was the game plan?
So it was a virtual like telehealth appointment, and I met with this doctor for about 2 hours, and she just kind of told me the traditional protocol of, this was what your diagnosis is. Your receptor for cancer is almost 100% positive for estrogen, meaning that my cancer fed off of that. And she's like, since it's aggressive, we have to go aggressive with treatment. And what she recommended was 16 treatments of chemotherapy over the course of 8 months, which was what I did, and followed by a double mastectomy. They wanted to do a complete mastectomy, removing like all of the skin and the nipples as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up going through with that just because after chemo, the prognosis looked better. So after the surgery, they recommended like 30 treatments of radiation, and then followed by hormone therapy, which is where I'm currently at right now.
That's a lot.
So a long treatment plan. Yeah.
A very long journey and a very hard journey.
Yeah.
Did you start immediately? Was it like, okay, let's get you in ASAP?
So because we don't have kids, she's like, when you go through chemotherapy, you have a 50% chance of being fertile after. So what we recommend is you do fertility preservation, which is basically the first couple steps of a IVF treatment. Yeah. So you'll go in, you'll stimulate the ovaries, you'll have the retrieval, and then they wanted to immediately shut my ovaries off after that to help like preserve the ovarian reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that.
So you were able to get some, and so you have that.
Yep. So we went through that. So what's actually really wild was the medications that they put me on was feeding my cancer for 2 weeks as we were stimulating my ovaries. So being on a stage 4 like cusp of diagnosis, it was just really frightening, because I'm like, this is essentially feeding my cancer. Like it said in the medication description, like, do not take this if you have cancer and any reproductive organs. And so that was like a huge miracle that we were able to make that out and everything was still fine.
Yeah, because you're just sitting there like, I want babies one day.
Totally.
These 2 weeks could potentially make things way worse. Totally. But if I don't do this, I may not have children.
Exactly.
Of my own.
Exactly. Like, which adoption's wonderful, you know, but it's like, it just kind of takes away that dream of like having our own babies. And so, so we did that. We had a very successful retrieval. We had 9 mature overnight. So we initially had, I think it was 5 and then 9 mature overnight. And so it was so special. So those have been frozen for quite some time. And that's kind of where they're at.
That probably felt good to at least have that while you were doing treatment, to know that that was there.
Totally. Just in case.
Yeah. So then you go straight into chemo. Yeah. Right?
Yes. Yep. So how they break up the chemo was the first 4 are like the most intense. They're like insane. You take them 2 weeks apart because you have like a 10 to 12 day like recovery. So the medications I took were adriamycin, or it's also called cyclophosphamide. I took 4 of those, and then I did 12 Taxol treatments after those 4. And we had some issues with my kidneys and my liver during the treatment, so I had to like take a couple breaks, but it was over like the course of 8.5 months.
What does your body feel like when you're doing chemo?
Those first 4 treatments were like insane. Like my mom had to like carry me. So I did treatment in Arizona because for me, like I was in the mental space of, I want to be where my family's at. Like I love like Dylan's family, and like Dylan, you know, it'd be great to be out here, but I just wanted to like be where my family was and have that support system.
Have your mom.
Yes, exactly. And so she took care of me basically those first 4 treatments that were like really awful. It was 8 weeks total. And she would help carry me to the bathroom. I had skin ulcers. I had mouth sores. I had like extreme nausea. Like the steroids that they put you on during chemo create like constipation. Like this is probably TMI, but it's just the side effects of what it is.
Nothing's TMI here, by the way. You say what you have to say.
We're all open here.
Yeah.
And I had this weird thing happen with my eyes that I think it just like affected like the glands in my eyes. So it like dried my eyes out really bad. I had nosebleeds. I had all kinds of crazy things like headaches and extreme fatigue, like crazy symptoms and side effects.
Did your hair fall out pretty quickly?
Yeah. So I kind of approached chemo and like the hair loss as let's do everything I can. And if it falls out, then at least I know I did what I could.
Yeah. I remember a video you had like a cold, like something that you put on your head. Like you were doing all the things.
Everything. Yeah. So my first treatment was 12 hours. I was at the hospital for 12 hours because we have to do blood draws and then you have to like prep your hair with like the cold cap system. So that's like an hour of like pre-freeze. Basically, they're putting your skull in like hypothermia state.
Yeah.
So it's like bringing your temperature down to like 72 degrees. And so they like pre-freeze the cap and then you put it on. You wear it for like 2 hours prior to treatment. And then you have to keep it on until like 2 hours after the treatment. And so, yeah, I did that for 2 or 3 times. You have to like wet your hair first and everything. It's a whole process. It's crazy. But I did that for, I think, 2 treatments. And my hair just got so tangly because so many hairs were falling out. Like I had hundreds of hair falling out a day that finally, like in the back of my head, I had this like huge like knot that I could not brush through. So I went in and I just was like, let's just trim and cut and do what we need to. And I did that and it was super short and I just kept it that way until it just kind of fell out.
Yeah.
But I had like bald spots and I'm like, I'm just going to honor my body and what it's going through and just allow it to release as it needs to.
Yeah. I remember, because didn't you vlog?
Yes.
I remember watching that and bawling. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
And like seeing all of like the, what do they call it? Like a rat's nest when it's all knotted in the back. And the sweet hair girl is like, oh,
she was
honey,
the best.
like this is not gonna come out.
I know.
And what was that day like? Was that a really hard day?
Yeah, I don't, like I think mentally I just tried to like detach. Like I'm like, I need to get to a point where my hair does not define me as like like my beauty, It's like, it's obviously a part of our femininity and like we love our hair and like we love the fullness and the thickness and like the fun things we can do with our hair. But like when you're going through something like cancer, it's like, for me, it just kind of put into perspective, like we just need to focus on the things that are most important. And there are alternatives for hair.
Yes.
There's wigs, which became like one of the best parts of my journey. And I think at that time I just tried to mentally prepare for like, it's okay. Like this doesn't define me. And like those days that like I don't feel beautiful or like I'm struggling to like see behind the baldness, I can throw a wig on and I can like put a hat on and I can just like blend into society and be somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So,
well, and everyone who has met you or sees you on Instagram, you're stunning.
You're so nice.
You're beautiful. And you got to experiment with so many different kind of hairstyles. Which one was your favorite?
Oh my gosh. I have so many fun ones.
You were like you could be blonde, you could be brunette, you could be redhead. Dylan
like,
had like 12 wives.
I know, and he loved it.
Yeah.
I feel like it just kind of depended on my personality. Like I have a pink one, I have an auburn one, and I've been blonde, or I like had been blonde for so long that like I think the brunette ones were super fun because I had like the money pieces in front, and I was like, okay, these are like fun and cute and trendy. And so, I had fun with all of them, just depending on like what I felt like that day.
Well, and you seem to be very positive throughout your whole experience. You still are so positive. How did you keep that positivity during all of it?
I feel like a lot of it was from the support that I had. I think just my friends showing up for me, my family showing up for me. I mean, so many people online were like rallying around me and just like all of that love. It just makes such a difference. And I will say I had a couple really powerful experiences with God, like super spiritual experiences that just like kind of shook me to my core. Also being like a convert, I think we always look for like those experiences of like, is God like really there? Like why we can have those moments of like, why is this happening? But then like when we open ourselves up and we're like, now's the time to kind of show yourself. Like, are you here? Like, do you see me? Like, how do I get through something like this? Yeah, it came at like just the right time.
Because I feel like I have friends who have had cancer
Yeah.
patients in their family.
Yeah.
My aunt passed away of cancer. A lot of people
Yeah.
have struggled with it in their life, and it's
Yeah.
hard to not be hateful towards God or
Totally.
to not believe in God anymore because it's like,
Totally.
how could he do that to you?
For sure.
Like, how were you able to navigate that?
So the family that I told you about in the beginning, like my best friend, her
Yeah.
dad, he offered a blessing for me. And he's just like, if you want to come over, like I'd love to just give you a blessing. This was prior to starting chemo. And I was like, yeah, I'm open. Like I'm open to whatever can help me at
Yeah.
this
Because were
point.
you really active in the church at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we were going to church. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say
Okay.
I had a relationship with God for sure. And so um he gave me a blessing. It was the longest blessing I've ever had. And mind you, he like knows he knows since like growing up, like since I was probably like 10, he had known me for so long, like 18 years.
Yeah.
And so the blessing was just so intentional and it was so personal, and I'll just kind of share what our
Yes,
experience
please.
was. So there was a point in the blessing that I was taken like out of my body. Like I just felt like I was like in a bubble, and it was just so quiet, and I just heard a voice like a just like I guess had like an impression, like a thought, but it sounded like a voice of like everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. And it said it twice, like in my head. I heard this, and it was the craziest thing because I had this vision, like it was a distant image that was just like Christ, like holding out his hands, and he was like lit up so bright. And as I heard these words of everything is going to be okay, that's like what I saw. And I just sat there, and it was probably like 5 to 7 seconds long,
Wow.
like very quick, but very powerful. And then I went back into like I could hear Alan's voice like kind of talking in the back, but I couldn't like hear what he was saying.
Right. It was like mumbled a little. Yeah.
Exactly. And so then I went like back into the blessing, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that was so wild. And I just like felt so much peace, and I just kept repeating that. I was like, everything is going to be okay. Like everything's going to be okay.
Wow.
And it was so crazy because after we finished that blessing, I told Alan, I was like, I have never experienced anything like this in my life, but I just had this like vision, like just this experience. I don't even know how to call it. Like I saw Christ like holding out his arms, and he was like illuminated, and I just heard this voice saying everything's going to be okay, and he's like, I saw the exact same thing.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just so wild. Like it just felt surreal. It
Yeah.
didn't feel real.
Well, and it's moments like that where you can't deny
Yeah.
that he's there.
You can't deny it.
Because you saw it.
Yeah.
Like you felt it. You saw it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah. And I think that was so profound to me. I carried that throughout
For
my whole
sure.
journey, like every treatment I went into, every surgery, every hard moment, I just reminded myself like everything's going to be okay. And
Yeah.
that sense of peace just would fill my body
'Cause
again. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Were there any times where you felt like it wasn't going to be okay?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had my days where like, it's just going into the unknown of such like a huge, like life altering thing. You're
Yeah.
like, what does a cancer patient look like? What does a cancer patient go through? Like, how do you navigate like all of the side effects? Like, how do you like, it's so unknown. Like, everybody has a different journey with it too. And so I would always think like, like what, like you always go to worst case scenario. Like, what if I don't make it? Like, what if I don't get to have kids? Or like, what am I leaving behind for my family? Like, it's the worst thought that you can think, but it's like, I asked my doctor, I'm like, do people die during chemo? Like, is there a chance I'm going to die? And it's a scary thing to think about. But yeah, those thoughts came over me like all the time, all the time.
Did the diagnosis affect yours and Dylan's relationship?
Um,
Did it bring you closer? Did it make things harder?
yeah, I mean, I would say, there were times that were really challenging because I think it's hard for family and for friends and for loved ones to really understand like the weight of what you're going through. And although they want to show up, everybody feels like helpless. Like they're like, what can I do? Like,
Yeah.
what can we do? And I think that my husband had a lot of those same feelings of like, I don't know how to be there for you. Like I'm here, but I don't know what I can do. And I don't think it made our marriage harder. I think it just was navigating like the changes of what my body was going through, how I was living, like how our lifestyle changed, like my energy levels, like I couldn't show up and like the way I had wanted to for him as a wife and like as a business partner. And like I just had to lean on him a lot. And I feel like he handled it really well. But yeah, I mean, totally it's hard. It's a hard thing to go through, you know, and you have those moments of like, what happens if things change, you know, and
No, that's scary.
something goes wrong, you know?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So what's your health right now at this very moment? How are you?
So I have been in a pretty good space. I have taken some time off of social media because I've just really been deep diving into my health and where I want to go with like this diagnosis. And I've integrated a lot of holistic and natural practices and alternative therapies into like my life. And I feel like that's given me like so much peace.
Good.
And it's really helped me to feel educated and like confident in decisions like moving forward with treatments. I still am currently in hormone therapy. So my doctors initially recommended like 5 to 10 years. So my body's in menopause. I have hot flashes like every 30 minutes. I have like bone thinning. I have just all of those like extreme fatigue, all of those things of like low estrogen. But the big picture of things is like, I'm just grateful to be where I'm at. And I'm grateful for like all of the blessings and miracles that I've seen throughout like this whole journey and the shift in perspective that I've had and how I'm able to just soak in like every moment, you know, because I think cancer gives that to you. It's like
shows you
what's important. Yeah. So yeah, right now like things are good. Like we're just kind of monitoring everything and working with some really amazing natural practitioners and we're just trying to be as proactive as we can.
Well, we all love to hear that. And I was shocked because I asked you, I'm like, is that a wig? And you're like, this is my hair. And I'm like, you have thicker hair than me. Like, that's amazing.
It's so wild because my hair before was like white. And now like when it came in initially, it was like black. And they have like after chemo, there's this thing called chemo curls where it like comes in, it's like poodle.
Yeah.
And it's like it's grown so much and I've probably cut off like 5 inches or so, just keeping it healthy and like doing like having fun with different hairstyles and hair lengths and stuff. But thank you.
It's
amazing. Love it.
No, and you look amazing. You're like glowing. You look so healthy
sweet.
and happy. What things are you doing day to day outside of like the hormonal therapy and things that like keep you going?
Yeah. I do so much. Like, I feel like sometimes I like overwhelm myself because I'm like, ooh, this is fun. And I'm like such an open book. Like, I have respect for traditional healthcare and medicine. And I have respect for like holistic, you know, and I just think the more we know, the more education we have and the more we're able to make like an educated decision based upon our health and like where we're at. So I do all kinds of things. So yoga has been huge for me and like
Sorry to interrupt, but I need to let you know about one of my favorite sponsors, Spearmint Love. Spearmint Love isn't just another baby boutique, it's a trusted name in the baby space. Known for its own Spearmint Love brand and huge selection of high-quality baby essentials and holiday collections, aka Halloween's coming up. But they also have fast shipping from their Arizona headquarters. Spearmint Love delivers the best for your little ones. And like I said before, Halloween is coming up and the Spearmint Love Halloween shop is to die for. From their aesthetic and high quality organic cotton waffle line to fun designs and super soft viscose made from bamboo line of zip rompers, hoodies, tutus, and 2-piece sets, there's a print and style for every little one. Matching prints and coordinating colors for siblings from size newborn to 6 years old. Whether you're dressing a little brother or a big sister, the Halloween collection truly has a style that will keep everybody looking festive. I as you know, love a theme. So having to get outfits for all three kids from one store is like heaven sent. There's so many cute and unique options for the baby's first Halloween. So obviously go ham, but it's just nice to have options for not just babies. So I can get something for Bentley, Brooks, and Banks. Slay. Go to their website, ordering coming home outfits from the hospital or a birth announcement photo outfit. Everything is so cute and so soft. The prints are unique, like I said, and photogenic, and the aesthetic is amazing. So head on over to experimentlove.com and use code weeklytrash at checkout for 25% off your order. That's experimentlove.com, code weeklytrash for, yes, 25% off. Have fun and go get yourself some Halloween goodies for those kiddos. And thanks, Experiment Love, for sponsoring today's episode.
Dark days, it's really like pulled me out from underneath like those heavy clouds. I did a lot of hyperbaric oxygen chambers, which helps like your cells heal. I do foot zoning, I do reflexology, I do red light therapy, beamer therapy, vitamin D therapy. I've gotten really into sound baths and sound therapy. I have done EMDR therapy, and I'm currently doing that, which helps with a lot of the trauma aspect from cancer.
Yeah.
I do a lot of detoxes. Parasite cleansing has been huge, and I can go on that like for days.
Yeah. I need to do that. I have like the capsules. There's like so many.
Yeah.
You have to take like so many. And there's like this thing where it has to be around like the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
Yeah. Like parasites become more active and alive, and they reproduce during like the full moon, which is so creepy.
No, like there's so many things where I'm like,
creepy.
wait, that's actually terrifying. It's like in me.
Yeah, I know, like worms like crawling inside. No. I know, it's so gross.
Wild.
Parasite cleansing is, everyone should do it.
Okay, so like, I need to take the pills and just do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Also there's a couple different like sources you can get the parasite cleanses through, but like doing the enemas with it, like processing that out. So parasite cleansing, I've done colonics, which like cleans the colon out. So when you do your parasite cleanse, you can like purge all of that. Yeah. I do thermography, which I really want to like touch on because I think
what is that?
Yeah, it's heat like imaging. So versus ultrasound or mammogram, like it doesn't create any damage to the tissue. It just is like a heat sensitive camera that takes a picture, and it can pull like hot spots. So like,
it's like the red and like the blue.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's like really good in like detecting like early cancers and things like that. Because cancer they create a lot of like blood vessels because they need a lot of blood flow to them. And thermography is like really helpful for that.
Where can you do that? Like do all doctors offer that?
No. So unfortunately it's not run through insurance, but imaging is like, of course not. It's not FDA approved either. So
of course not.
That means it's probably good for you.
Yeah, of course not.
But so yeah, there is this lady in Lehigh. I can give you her information and I'd love for you to like share it with everyone. She's amazing. And the image is only like $200. So it's like if you save for a few months, like go get a, like just go get a scan.
Go get checked.
Yeah. Go get a picture, whatever. I know it's like out of pocket and you can't cover it by insurance, but it's so worth it.
Could save your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's just a few of things I do. It's a lot, but it helps me feel better.
Well, that's good. I mean, what advice would you give to somebody who got that diagnosis today?
So I would say for somebody who's been diagnosed, find your support system, find people that you can confide in, who love you, who have your best interest at heart. Be proactive and ask questions, and look into holistic therapies that can work alongside traditional medicine if you choose to go the route of like the traditional protocol with chemotherapy and radiation and surgery. Find like the good in every single moment that you have that's good. So I feel like more good moments will come if that's what you're focusing on. And it does sound a lot easier said than done because cancer it's not like a nice thing, and it changes everything in your life, and it's a hard thing to deal with. But if you can just focus on the good things that are happening, I feel like more will come. And if you have a belief in God, or if you have a belief in a higher power, whatever that is, if you have a connection with energy or spirit or whatever it is, like lean into that because I feel like it offers hope.
For sure. Is there anything about your journey that you wish you would have done differently?
I wish I would have integrated more natural therapies
Okay.
earlier on. Now that I've researched, like I've like dived super deep
Oh,
into
I'm
like
sure.
natural and like holistic therapies and all that stuff. And knowing what I know now, I feel like if I had those offered like alongside chemo, like it could have alleviated a lot of like struggles.
Really? Well, and you brought these books. Is
Yes.
there anything in these
Yeah.
books that we need to know?
Okay. So one other thing I was going to say, for people who just want to like change their lifestyle and they want to be like healthier, they want to like integrate like more of a natural way of living, the best thing you can do is just be proactive, educate yourself, and kind of just like be aware of all the products, what's in your environment, like what's your food look like, what's your water look like, what are the chemicals in there. Just like kind of be aware because there's a lot of diseases that are like showing up in people's bodies, including cancer and including heart disease and all of these things. So I brought a couple books. This doctor is amazing, and she actually has this book called The Cure for All Cancers, which I think is very bold.
Yeah, that is.
But it goes over so much. And what's interesting is the first like couple pages, it talks about parasites. So she actually goes as far to say as purge the parasite, cure the cancer. So there's a link between parasites and cancer. And so I'll just say that. But this book is so good. So check this out.
Okay.
And she has a bunch of books on her website as well.
And she has a PhD and what else does it say
ND, not sure what that one is. But
the
PhD looks pretty good. So.
PhD looks legit. So we'll take that one.
Interesting enough, these like are very hard to get on Amazon, which I think is kind of interesting. But if you search her name and you go on her website, there's a whole bunch of books there. Just like really good information.
The Cure to All Cancers.
Yeah. And then this is, says it's an integrative oncologist reveals how to fight cancer using modern medicine and natural therapy, which is kind of what I touched on a little bit. And this has,
no, you're fine.
This has like such good information in here. Kind
Cancer
of talks,
secrets.
It talks about recommended like imaging and recommended foods and like waters and even, kind of like your electrical environment of like what's going on that. It's a lot of information, but it's just good to be aware of and mindful of.
Yeah. So was there anybody when you were in treatment that maybe you connected with that had the same diagnosis as you that you've been able to stay close with, or maybe bad things have happened or anything like that?
So my aunt was a really good advocate. She was diagnosed with stage 4 inflammatory. She was given less than 2% chance to live by 4 different oncologists, and she even went into clinical trials. But she had gone through the whole thing. She had like a bone marrow transplant, like everything. And she just had so much information to share. So she was really helpful. There's a lady who I know her daughter, I went to school with her daughter, and she had breast cancer. And she actually wrote a book called, oh gosh, I'll have to think. One sec. What's it called?
If you can't think, you remember? Oh, see, you're quick. You're like, I may have a little brain fog. I'm like,
the chemo brain is real for sure.
But you're quick.
I think it's called What to Expect When You're Not Expecting.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's all about her whole journey, and she shares a lot of like secrets and insights into that. And then my mom's friend was an oncologist nurse, and she helped me a ton with like my schedule for my anti-nausea meds and my painkillers and like everything I needed throughout my whole treatment. So she was really great. She was really helpful for me.
I love
so
that.
I feel like I got like really lucky with a lot of really good people around me.
No, and that's a huge thing that you do need when you're going through something like this.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot.
Yeah, just like don't be afraid to like reach out to people, like just kind of connect as much as you can if you're kind of going through something like this or you've had a serious like illness. Like I would just say don't be afraid to connect.
So what's next for you? Like any big goals or exciting things that you have in store for you in 2024, 2025?
I know. I am really focusing on work right now. Like we have some really fun things, like huge projects that are coming up in the interior design world. And yeah, we are so excited about that.
That's amazing. Is anything going to be in like Parade of Homes or anything like that?
I think we may have a Park City home in the Park City Showcase. Yeah. I would say probably 2026.
Okay.
But that's going to be a really fun one. We might be doing a Utah Valley in 2026 as well. We'll see.
That's amazing.
We have to convince our clients.
Right? You're like, please let people walk through your home.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing. It's like,
share.
I was just talking, his episode will already be out, so I can talk about it, but Sawyer Hemsley, the owner
I
of
love
Crumble,
him. He's so cute.
His home's going to be in the showcase. And I'm like, does that freak you out a little? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Like thousands of people
but
walking
it gives
through my home.
a deadline, like where your house will be done. There's pros to it, right? But it is something where it's like, can we let hundreds of people walk through your home?
Yeah,
it's showcase
wild.
It a little.
No, totally. I bet his house will be amazing. I think his builder is Robison Builders.
Yes,
pretty sure. And they're so talented.
Yes,
so good.
The house you live in now, did you guys build that?
So my in-laws built that for my brother. My in-laws built that for the twin boys. So my husband and his brother. And yeah, so they built that in 2012, I think.
So they built it for them to like live in as brothers.
Just like two rooms on the main floor. I know. Like when they were out selling one year and they come home to this brand new like custom homes. Like,
here. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday.
I know, seriously. Yeah. So when we got married, I just kind of like renovated it a little bit because it was like dark gray and like fire engine red. And I'm like, oh buddy, like we need a facelift in here.
Yeah, no, this isn't my vibe.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is your design style?
So our aesthetic is organic earth. So we have a lot of like neutral, raw, like beautiful like color palettes like that are just so earthy. Yeah. Like we use a lot of natural materials like stone and wood and
like
travertine.
The opposite of this.
We love this too. Like so I wore my pop of color for you today because
I love it. Thank you.
I feel like that's the thing. Like just having a love for fashion, I feel like I just like love like experimenting with like different styles.
It's fun.
But like neutral is like where my heart is, and I feel like the whole like journey with Cancer, like I just was so intrigued by like just natural.
Yeah, it's peaceful.
That's kind of what translated into like us coining our organic earth aesthetic, and it's just it gives that zen vibe of just like peace and calming, and
Well, I love it. I love you. Thank you for coming. This was seriously so fun to dumpster deep dive you, but I can't let you leave until you do TRASHTOPICAN.
Okay, what is this?
So you're gonna pick a topic out of that trash can, and we're both gonna answer it. I don't know what you'll get, but it's a surprise. And if my handwriting is so horrible, so like just bear with me.
Oh, if someone wrote a book about you, what would be the title?
Oh, I feel like that's a good one for you. You have quite the story.
I would say if someone wrote a book, I would hope it would be about finding hope and positivity in the midst of adversity.
Love.
Just, I feel like with my husband having his testicular cancer, infertility.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even cover that.
Oh yeah, we didn't.
Oh my gosh. That happened too.
That happened too.
Like you both have had cancer.
Yeah. In our reproductives. So like his was testicular, mine was breast.
Oh my gosh. And you guys were still able to do like the IVF thing and figure that out?
So he froze his sperm, which was really good. So he actually like felt for his body he needed to just do like natural.
Yeah.
So he changed his diet for like a year or so, and he's past the 5-year cured mark, but that was in 2016. So that was like a few months prior to us getting engaged. And then everything was good. He had one of his testicles removed.
Yeah.
But he still is fertile. Like he still is able to produce. So yeah, he had that. Then we had the infertility. Then we had the breast cancer. So it was just kind of like back to back.
Yeah.
It was wild.
No, talk about adversity. Like you guys have been through it.
I mean, I just think it would just be cool to share like, here's some like things that we've done to kind of help us during like those dark, hard times of life.
So it kind of sounds like you need to write a book. Somebody doesn't need to write a book about you. You need to write a book about your life. Would you ever do that?
I don't know. I mean, I've like never really, I'm like, I feel like for me, I'd be like, well, like, would anybody read that? Like, would that be like interesting enough? Like,
absolutely.
I don't know, but maybe it could be of help to some people.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you going to title it? What's the official title for Delia Chatwin's book? The Chatwin Cure?
The way the Chatwin's cure. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That could be like really, really interesting though.
I think you should. Maybe. I totally think you should.
Just like a brain dump of like, here's what I did. Take what like you feel may connect to you. I feel like energy has been like a huge part of my journey as well. I love energy.
Did you ever have that like were you ever like, what's the word? Gravitated? Did you ever gravitate towards energy stuff 100%. Before?
Oh, before. Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I just think, so my sister-in-law, Dylan's sister, she lives in Montana. She is like so into like energy work. Like she has a whole page of like Mandala Mama, which actually you guys should check out because she's amazing. She does a lot of cool like energy things that I think are really beneficial to the body. But yeah, I think as soon as I got diagnosed with cancer, like she kind of stepped into my life and was like, hey, here's this if you're interested. And again, I was at the point where I'm like, I'm open to everything. So let's do it.
Anything and everything.
Totally. So I think energy was, huge part. But yeah,
before, I think not so much.
Yeah, I think there's just like so much that goes into it that I could probably talk about for days, but yeah. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll do a little.
You should.
A little brief or something.
You should. My book would just be called Trash Girl. Just Trash Girl. Just I love taking out the trash. Oh yeah, Taking Out the Trash with Josie Van Dyke, an autobiography. But wait, an autobiography has to be when you're dead? People write an autobiography about you?
I think that's a is it?
Or is it just a biography? I don't know. I'm the wrong person.
I think it's an autobiography. Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
you're right.
I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm sure people will correct me in the comments. So let me know. Let me know.
You know, looking at all of the trash that like we experience in all of our lives on the daily. Like
we need to talk about it.
Like everybody has it.
Everybody.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part about this is having people come on and share their stories and everyone realizes, oh, we all got trash.
Yeah.
Like, everyone goes, and some trash is good trash. Like good things came out of your cancer diagnosis. Yes. As awful as it is, there was goodness in there. And I think that's a beautiful reminder that there's always good in the bad.
Yeah, totally. And everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. Everybody's going through something. And so it's like, I feel like it's so relatable. Like, I love what you do. I love you. I think you're awesome.
I love you. And I'm so grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
And I know everybody else they don't know that you're coming on. I mean, they do now that they're listening to this, but I'm so excited to tell people that you're coming on because I think a lot of people have been following your journey and have been wondering where you are, like what's going on, because you have been very silent on social media.
And I will give you guys just a little idea of something I'm working on.
Okay, give it to us.
With one of my doctors, we are kind of going through a step-by-step. We're kind of creating a cancer series of like, this is what you can do when you're diagnosed. This is like every step all the way through of like what she recommends, just being like a natural doctor to kind of just give more insight into like natural ways if that's something that people want to do. And then also just like the different therapies and modalities that I've integrated into my life, just to kind of help bring awareness and educate people. And so that's kind of a little project we're working on in the background.
Would it be like a course, like a thing that they buy? Would it be a podcast? Like what would it be?
Yeah, I think it might just be like a video series where it's kind of like a podcast, I guess, but like in like video format. So we're just going to break it up and we're just going to be like, this is the topic today. Like this is kind of what we're talking about. And like, let's dig a little deeper into what this does, how it can help you, how it can be of benefit. And maybe you haven't heard of it before. Maybe you have, but you know, those things that are kind of hidden behind not being FDA approved, like let's talk about those a little bit.
Do you have a name for this?
No, we haven't gotten that far. Right now it's Cancer Series. So.
Cancer Series. Hey, that's a good name. Yeah. Well, we'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Totally. Because I know people have been missing you on social media. So
thank you.
I'm excited to see whatever it is.
I need to show my face again.
You do. It's gorgeous. Are you going to start modeling again?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
If something presented itself, but
you have a lot on your plate right now. You don't really need to add modeling, but you could.
Thank you.
Easily could.
You're so sweet. I enjoyed it. It was a fun part of my life, but
yeah. Well, I'm sure it was a lot of your life. 12 years old.
Yeah.
That's really young to be starting, but that just shows how photogenic you are. Your mother was like, this family photo, you're standing out, girl. We need to get you behind.
Like, do you want to do a little photo shoot? Just try it.
Just
see
try
how
it.
you
You're
like
amazing. I love it. Well, Delia, thank you so much for coming and taking out trash. And I hope you guys have the best week ever. And don't forget to take out your trash. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.